Ron. So, welcome to the hybrid meeting of the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee. Can I ask everyone to please mute their microphones at all times unless invited to speak by myself? For those of you who are physically in the council chamber this evening, can I please remind you that when speaking into your microphone, you need to wait until you see yourself on the screens so the live feed can pick up your comments. If you speak before your image is projected, those listening to the live feed or via Zoom will not hear anything you say. This is obviously particularly important in the case of a vote being recorded. Have any apologies from the floor? Nope, and I've been notified of none. Agenda item 2 then, declarations of interest, content to take them as we move through. On now to agenda item 3, and that's a presentation by Pamela Arthurs from the East Border regions. And Pamela is online. Pamela, if you want to unmute yourself, if you can hear us okay. Unmute and begin your presentation. Welcome. 10 minutes, Pamela.
Thank you very much, Chair. And as always, it is a privilege to come along and to share the work of East Border region with the council. I just get into the... Can you see that, Chair?
Yes, Pamela, yeah.
Okay, great. As I said, it is a privilege to come along this evening, and I'm also joined with my colleague Det Hughes, who is Programme Manager with East Border Region. And Det will be available to answer some of the questions perhaps on future projects later on. The contents this evening of the presentation, 4 elements. Basically, Chair, I intend to just rush through the first 3 and concentrate really on the opportunities for the council, which I'm delighted to say are plentiful at the minute with various funds available. So first of all, the Interreg 5A projects that we're involved in, there are a range of projects across different sectors. In total, we are involved in almost 109 million euro of the overall 280 million euro Interreg 5A programme. Not all of those are solely with our local authorities. We actually have 60 partners across all of those projects with which we work. Again, in your report, we outline those projects in more detail, so I'll just move on at this stage, but happy to take questions. In the past year, we were delighted to be involved in your Take 500 programme. We conducted the project on the financial verification. We won a tender with the council, and 81, as you were, 81 community groups were awarded funding there, £75,500 of funding, which was administered by ABR. And the feedback from those community groups in terms of the council was excellent. It's certainly a popular programme with the community across the borough. Another key element of our work is elected member capacity building. We believe that is very important because in terms of East Border region, the focus is on cross-border economic development, and therefore members from each of the councils need to get to know each other, they need to trust each other in order to properly work together. So, you know, it's a continuous process because, for example, the local government elections this year, we have new councillors, new members. Some of them maybe are not just new to East Border, they're new to the council as a whole. And it's important, therefore, that we do continuous capacity building. Brexit was another issue which obviously impacted on ourselves, as for the first time since our formation back in 1976, one half of the region was outside the European Union. Our response to that we've always looked at cross-border cooperation and as in pragmatic cooperation. And our response, therefore, was to develop east-west linkages, because some of our members felt that there was a need there to work not just on a cross-border basis, but east-west. That would help us in terms of mutual understanding. It also promoted the work of the organisation and to realise more opportunities. And it's important to say it's not just financial, but also non-financial. We did have a very successful visit in this time last year, actually, to Westminster. Sorry, I've just gone past it here. Yes, which was a capacity building exchange visit to Westminster. We had 28 elected members and officials there. We launched the charter. The charter really was EBR's response to Brexit, and in a nutshell, it said that the 6 member councils still wanted to work together to promote cross-border economic development where it made sense. And obviously where it impacted across the whole region. We had a range of meetings with peers, MPs, with Speaker McFall, a reception hosted by the Irish ambassador, and all in all, an excellent opportunity to promote the work of East Border region, and also a very good capacity building event. North-South linkages still continue, and again, capacity building to Leinster House. We also met with the Lord Mayor of Dublin in Mansion House and had a very successful reception hosted by the United States Ambassador to Ireland, Claire Cronin, earlier in the year as well. And you can see there are some of the members there in her residence, so that was good. So the next steps for that, we want to build on the east-west linkages because we feel that they are very useful. So the Irish Sea Symposium, which is linkages with the Welsh Government, we're working with that symposium, which is promoting opportunities across the Irish Sea. And the geographical area also includes Scotland, the coast of Scotland and England. So small-scale funding is available there for cooperation projects and ensure that the linkages which were established previously through the EU programmes are not lost. Now, we say here future funding opportunities, but they're actually here and now, most of them. We're on the cusp of making applications under the first one, which is the Peace Plus programme, 1.1 billion programme. So it's very significant. There's also the 1 billion Shared Island Fund from the Irish government, and also the Reconciliation Fund, much smaller, but it funds the type of capacity building that I talked about previously. So it is important for us to capitalise on these exciting opportunities, and most importantly, to ensure the maximum impact for our own local authorities. And for the first thing that we have done, we've worked continuously with your officials and officials across all our councils, as well as with you as elected members. But the first thing we did there on the 29th of September, we had a conference which really was bringing, with 70 delegates there, from within the 6 council members of East Border region. So we had elected members, we had council officials, and we had key stakeholders. And that was an opportunity to hear from the funders as to what was available and what types of programme that they are currently looking for. And there's the Shared Island, the Peace Plus, the Reconciliation Fund, and also the Civic Society funds on the Shared Island. We had speakers on all of those. It was a very useful conference. I think everyone who attended thought it was useful. We'd facilitated breakout sessions then across our 5 key areas where there are opportunities. And the elected members and the officials, I think, went away excited as to what the next couple of years can bring. So just a quick update on Peace Plus 2021 to 2027. That is the total of the 1.1 billion programme that's available if you look just there at 1.1, that's the local community peace action plans, which is peace traditionally, as you know it. So you can see a much wider, bigger programme that's available in the coming years, and which we, in conjunction with your officials and our members, intend to work across a number of different areas. The thematic working groups are the way that we've done that, and they're bottom-up needs-based cross-border projects that we're looking at. We don't tell your officials or your members what they should be doing. They tell us, and from that we develop the projects. We have a strong project pipeline at the minute, and that's been developed across all themes within the remit of the local authorities under 1.4, 2.3, 2.4, 4.2. And again, we've more details on that. I just don't have time, in the short period now. Just to look quickly at the Shared Island Fund, again, it's significant. It's 1 billion as well. So they did issue a call a year ago for local authority development funding to progress joint investment projects by local authority partnerships. So link funding streams deliver shared regional development goals is what that was about. Funding of just €150,000, but that was around feasibility, assessing projects, bringing the project to like the pre-planning stage. So a number of projects were approved, which involved Armagh, Banbridge, Craigavon. You'll see there that Monaghan County Council are on all of these. This is because the lead council has to be in Ireland, but all of the East Border councils are involved in all of these projects. So you're involved in all of those, and they're ongoing at the minute. So future funding is potentially available for these projects as a result of the feasibility studies. It's not guaranteed, but it is possible. But this must be driven by the local authorities, and support is required from the relevant policy department as well. There won't be open call for proposals. It will be assessed by the Shared Island Unit. So to conclude, members, ABR appreciate the ongoing support from the council, our ongoing support from elected members, both on the ABR board and on the members forum, and the excellent engagement from officials across all thematic working groups. And your council, to be fair, has been extremely involved in all of the work that we've done to date. In our experience in East Border, we believe that, good cross-border cooperation needs three key components. It needs engagement from elected members, from senior officials in council, and from key stakeholders. And we are lucky that we do have that. And I think the success that we have enjoyed to date, but we take nothing for granted, is as a result of, continuing to have that engagement and support from our members. We don't take that for granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pamela. Lots of good work going on, lots of exciting opportunities coming up. Any questions from members? No, not seeing any hands raised.
I'm getting off lightly.
Oh, Councillor Lavery. Sorry, Pamela. Councillor Lavery, again.
Thank you, Chair. It's tough to ask Pamela hard questions because she always goes over everything such good detail there. I just wanted to thank Pamela and the team for all the work they're doing, in particular the council officers and ABC involved in these projects. Obviously, very exciting times ahead with potential for those big funds there. So I'm assuming we'll definitely fight our case for those as well. But just why I'm speaking to Claire and interest is a member East Border Region Members Forum. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery, and bringing Councillor McLeod.
Yes, indeed, Chair. Thanks for bringing me in, and it's just to declare an interest as a board member of each border region. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor McLennan. I'll bring in Councillor Savage.
Thanks, Chair. Again, just to declare an interest as a board member on East Border Region, but again to congratulate Pamela on all the hard work her and her team put in, and seeing that firsthand in the delivery, where they follow through in projects and all, it's great to see, and the number of partners they have within the work that they do. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Savage, and I concur with that. And yes, Pamela, you've got off fairly lightly with no further questions. So thank you very much for the presentation, and good luck for the future and all the good work that you do.
Thank you, Chair, and I hope I'll be back next year with results.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
Bye. Bye.
So, members, next we have another presentation. This time it's from Shane Campbell from ICBAN. So just a couple of seconds till Shane comes in. And welcome, Shane. So if you want to unmute, Shane, and deliver your presentation, we have 10 minutes, so we'll be fairly strict with it. So get it all in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Shane. Yep. You hear us?
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes.
Good stuff.
And I'll just share this now. Okay, that should be coming through okay, is it?
Yes, Shane, that's grand.
Okay. Chair, thank you for the welcome. Good evening to the members and the council officers. And thank you for this opportunity to present to you a review of our work programme for the last 6 months. We'll be covering 5 service areas, really. The first one really goes to the heart of our work as a cross-border partnership about promoting the interactions and the connections. I'll then talk about our work in promoting our regional strategy. And then thirdly, about the development of projects associated with that strategy and with a particular focus on the Peace Plus programme. Speak also about Brexit and how we continue to make representations to relevant consultations, etc., on the data that we've amassed. And just at the heart of our work is our communications and providing regular updates to the council and other stakeholders on the work and interests of the organisation and the cross-border cooperation that is happening in our region. So the first area is about promoting interactions, and that really goes back to ICBAN's inception 28 years ago. It was originally formed, ICBAN, or in full, as the Irish Central Border Area Network, as a network for councillors to work on a cross-border basis and to find common solutions to common problems. That work today is very much at board level and also within the subcommittees of the board, and bringing people together and to trying to find ways forward for common issues across our Central Border region. But also then within the working groups and the partnerships that we establish between council officers from right across all 8 member councils of Donegal, Leitrim, Sligo, Cavan, Monaghan, Fermanagh, Mid-Ulster and ABC in working together on common projects and initiatives. So that's very much about what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. In the past year, as a result of the local government elections, we had changes to the board. At this stage, I would like to acknowledge and thank those members who had previously served in the year, including the committee chair, Councillor Mackle, and also to Eamon McNeil, who had been a previous chair of the organisation, and to Sam Nicholson, who's indeed our chair during the past year. So I wish to acknowledge our appreciation for all their good efforts over many years in our partnership. And then we inducted the new members that had come on to the board, Councillors Ferguson, Flaherty, and also Councillor Hawley. We've received operational funding now for this year and next year to the sum of some 100,000 sterling for recognising the positive working within the board and our good relations governance, and indeed we'll be using some of that funding for capacity building programmes that we're looking to establish in 2024, and those will be available to council officers and to board members as we look to ways and means to address those challenges for future cooperation around climate action, etc. In 2021, we launched our strategy, the framework of regional priorities for the Central Border region. And our work in promoting that is around various sector groupings that we've established that are very much about developing opportunities through the framework strategy. One of these has been a regional steering group that we've established for the tertiary education institutions of the region, the 6 in total, including Southern Regional College. And in particular, this grouping is working to deliver the human capital pillar or theme of the strategy. There's 3 projects that are being currently worked on: advanced manufacturing, digital citizens, which Southern Regional are leading on, and also green skills. We've also got a grouping that looks at biodiversity and hedgerows development, and we've been developing a paper on that for a future funding opportunity that may be created involved in geothermal. In promoting the Ulster Canal as well, in particular when works are completed at Clonus, that there'll be opportunities eventually to move the canal northwards again and have its completion entirely, as had been the case. ICBAN's heading up to working groups that are looking at new project concepts for Peace Plus. One's in the area, the investment of rural regeneration, and the second is in smart towns and villages. And next year, we anticipate that there will be a Peace Plus call opening for cross-border strategic development. And again, we'll be seeking to establish a working group that will look into funding opportunities for that. But drawing on the data that we've amassed, not just through the strategy, but through our general work and data that we find in our general work, we've submitted a number of consultation responses on behalf of the interest of our member councils and also our region. And those more recently includes broadband, mobile roaming, all-in strategic rail, greenways, Peace Plus, and regional development. One of the areas of the strategy, one of the themes is infrastructure and connectivity. This has always been very important. And in particular, that we continue our broadband representations. And in doing so, we draw on the 3 previous fibre optic crossroads reports and the evidence amassed through those that we had developed. Recently, this has included engaging with the government by way of ensuring the clawback of some 14 million will come back to enhance delivery into rural areas. That 14 million is now confirmed, and 6 million of which will actually go to Department for Economy for new projects. We had led on investigations and using the evidence of the fibre optic crossroads reports to put a case to the Audit Office, who then completed their investigations and their findings were backed by the Stormont Public Accounts Committee, and that made the case for the 14 million of clawback funds. The premise of that we had argued and which subsequently supported was that the funding for broadband infrastructure delivery should be into areas where there is market failure, the rural areas effectively of which it was originally set up for. But instead we had investigated where funding had gone into areas where there wasn't a market failure, where there was opportunities for commercial providers to deliver and were delivering, and where the take-up of the subscriptions was much in excess of what had been anticipated. And that led to a clawback of some 14 million then. We continue to monitor delivery at Project Stratum, a project that we've been associated with in helping to support and create initially. Yesterday, we had a meeting with the Department for Economy Telecoms Unit and looking into the progress for the delivery of that project. And in particular then, how Project Gigabit can then come on board afterwards and complete for those areas that are not going to see delivery or see connections through Project Stratum. We've also engaged recently with Department for Economy Telecoms on the Shared Rural Network and the ambitions of that programme to ensure improvements in mobile connectivity. But we won't conclude our work on that as we're meeting with as we're meeting with Ofcom, I should say, in the next number of weeks. And what we're trying to impress with Ofcom and the regulatory counterpart in the Irish Republic, which is ComReg, which is about seeing an end to any consequences from inadvertent roaming of mobile connections in the border region, particularly for our citizens or those that are working in the area that could be penalised by either poor connectivity, loss of signal, or increased costs especially. And finally, with regards to broadband, we continue our oversight of the comparative programme in the Irish Republic, which is the National Broadband Programme, and taking the learning between both programmes and sharing those with our member councils by way of helping councils better be informed to engage with the key stakeholders, the funders and the providers. So work and project development is our main focus at the moment. ECBAN's currently working with stakeholders through what could be some 45 million euro of funding, if approved, across this range of projects here in various stages of development. These are for Peace Plus mainly. We have here the Green Skills project led by Southwest College, which is around retrofitting and modern methods of construction. Digital Citizens is another education and skills project led for the area by Southern Regional College. ECBAN's leading on a Smart Towns and Villages project and also on a Rural Regeneration and Social Inclusion project. We're involved in a geothermal project that is all island based. We're leading on a water quality project for the urn system. We've developed some outline proposals and papers associated with hedgerows and also biodiversity improvements and biodiversity corridors, particularly in planting areas, and with an eye towards potential opportunities there with shared island or levelling up in future. And next year, we have an interest in the strategic cross-border element, strand 6.1 of Peace Plus. Just my final slide to touch on our work around Brexit, and that draws on the evidence that we collected through 4 research exercises and reports completed with Queen's University Belfast. We'd engaged their responses from 2,100 residents and workers across the region. And we use that and draw upon that as we make responses to relevant parliamentary calls for evidence associated with Brexit or EU Parliament regional development research programmes. We've developed a new research bid that's been developed again with Queen's University, and we're looking into funding opportunities for this to examine the impacts of Brexit, the protocol and cooperation within Northern Ireland on a north-south basis and also east-west. Chair, just to conclude my final remarks is to say a thank you to all the council officers who have supported us and continue to support us with our work and in helping move our projects and our various initiatives forward. To thank the council for its continued support in general to ECBAN and its contribution, which is much appreciated, and also to acknowledge and thank the 4 elected representatives of the council who are currently serving on the ECBAN board, and thank them for all their help, support and guidance. And that's Councillor Joy Ferguson, Councillor Julie Flaherty, Councillor Rona Hoy and Alderman Stephen Muthrie. Chair, I'm happy to take any questions then from the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Yes, lots of good work going on there, and I certainly enjoyed my time on ECBAN. So any questions, members? Alderman Muthrie.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Shane for his presentation and declare my membership of ECBAN.
Thank you, Alderman Muthrie, and I'll bring in Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you, Shane. Thanks for that, Shane. And it's been very enlightening just getting to know you all on ECBAN. I never had been involved in any of the years previously. I took over from my sadly missed colleague, Sam Nicholson, who just thought ECBAN was great. He really enjoyed it and really got a lot out of it. So hopefully we'll be able to do the same. Thanks very much, Shane.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Flaherty and Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair. And Shane, thank you for the presentation. Just to declare my own interest as a member of ECBAN as well. And it's good to see Shane back in the chamber. It was good to welcome ECBAN here to the chamber physically last month, and good to hear the work of ECBAN as well. And similar to Councillor Flaherty, it has been really good to get to know the work of ECBAN. And I'm certainly quite excited about the areas that they are proposing to work on, particularly with regards to Peace Plus. And there's certainly areas of development that will benefit now and future generations. So I look forward to working with ECBAN in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. And that's it, Shane. No difficult questions. I'd be glad to hear. So once again, good luck moving forward for ECBAN and keep up all the good work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Michael. All the best, everyone.
Bye now. Okay, members, moving on then to agenda item 5, which is the departmental 6-monthly updated business plans. Just an information item, but officers are happy to take any questions if there are any. I'll bring in Councillor McClellan.
Yes, indeed, Chair. Thank you for letting me in, and thank you to officers for the report. In terms of the Chief Executive's office and in most of the other departments, I note that, as the report says, high-level progress can be reported on as follows. And I'll just pick a couple of them out. Implementation of a guidance document for corporate and subsidiary brand signage. And Chair, it says it's been completed. The question I would ask is, what does that actually mean? And I suppose my other, and it's not quite a question, more of a comment, just immediately down below there, a corporate internal communication survey launched. Now, I think that's to be welcomed, because in the end, our staff are our most important asset, and it's important that we have good communication flows right up and down the organisation. Can we have an update, or can we have an indication as to when we as members will be updated in terms of any results and therefore actions that may flow from this particular survey? Thanks, Chair.
I'll bring in Claire, who's on Zoom, to answer those questions. Claire, if you want to unmute and come on.
Yep, thank you, Chair. In response to your questions, Councillor, we have implemented, and it has been launched with staff, an internal communication staff review. Basically, the premise of that review is really to ensure that we are utilising effective means of communication for staff. So the review was launched 2 weeks ago. It will be live for an additional 4 weeks. So it's a 6-week consultation with staff in relation to corporate communications and our channels of communications and how we can improve that for the organisation. The plan in relation to the internal communications review is really to have all the findings of the research brought back in January and fed back to staff, and at that point we can bring that back in and inform members of the results of the survey. In relation to your question about the strategic brand guidance document, it was felt that in terms of our direction of travel for the organisation, that it was important that we had guidance in relation to how all our facilities are branded accordingly. So we have prepared a document that gives clear guidance for all staff in relation to signage going forward to standardise our corporate approach across council. I hope that answers your question.
Councillor McClelland.
Yes, Chair, and just if you could possibly indulge me, and Claire, thank you for those answers. In terms of the internal communications one, I know, for staff and across all levels are busy and so on, and I suppose what I'm trying to get at is, will all steps be taken to make sure that there is as much or as many staff buy-in as possible over the 6-week period that you've outlined? Because I think it's important that when an exercise like this is launched, that there's as many percent of our staff actually take part in it. So I think if maybe some staff maybe need a wee sort of shove along to say, look, give us your views on that. It's important that it is as inclusive, Chairman, perhaps that would be a word, as possible. Thanks.
Do you want to come back on that, Claire, at all?
Yeah, just to reassure Councillor that we do have quite a comprehensive communications plan for the survey. We have engaged with all line managers as well to re-endorse the importance of this survey for staff. There are paper copies. We're aware of the amount of staff that we have that don't have access to emails, QR codes, etc. So we are fully on top of that. And our main premise really from the survey is to get engagement from those staff in outlying areas where potentially communication is a barrier as well. So there is a full communications plan for the internal survey.
Thank you, Claire. And I'll bring in Alderman Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. And just a wider point, maybe if I could ask through Chair to Claire, in terms of the comms, I know in years gone past, we were always very keen that, you know, the comms would be done in-house because of the expertise here, and we did use quite a few probably external communications, and I know there was rationale for that at the time and why we did it because of contacts and all that type of thing. But I'm just wondering now, right across the organisation, is it all in-house comms, or are we still using any outside comms organisations, or is it all done in-house?
Thank you, Alderman Baxter. Claire, do you want to come back on that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And just to assure Alderman Baxter that all comms is now being done in-house. There is no external contracts.
Okay, Alderman Baxter. Yep. Okay, members, any further questions then in relation to that item? No. So we'll move on then to agenda item 6, which is another information item. It's in relation to section 12 of the Safeguarding Board audit response. So unless there are any questions, members, I'm content to move on. Not seeing any hands or lights. Grand. Thank you, members. We'll move on then to agenda item 7, which is the consultation documents from external organisations. Again, any questions? No questions, members. So it's a decision item. So we need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor Kevin Savage, seconded by Councillor Lavery. All agreed, members? Thank you. Moving on then to another decision item, agenda item 8, which is the dates for council and committee meetings in 2024. Don't propose to go into the detail, members. You've all seen it. If anybody's any questions in relation to it. If not, can we have a proposer and a seconder? Proposer by Alderman Moutry, seconded by Councillor McConville Walker. All agreed, members? Thank you. Agenda item 9, correspondence. There are no items of correspondence. So, members, I will now need a proposer and Alderman Baxter.
Sorry, Chair, you're too quick for me there. Just in terms of the meetings next year, it's probably a wider point in and around the chamber here. I noticed tonight, and I was in late, so I don't know for an explanation for why some of the media is not working. I know we've had serious problems over the last few months about things not working properly. So is it the case, you know, we look to get everybody back into the chamber and then use the voting systems and all the technology we have here? Are we going to spend the money and continue to allow, you know, homework, and what are members' thoughts on that, or what is council's thoughts on how we move forward? Because I think coming into 2024, it'd be nice, you know, certainly from our perspective, to get back to a bit of normality. And I know it is handy sometimes, I suppose, when there's votes and things, if you're out of the country, whatever, you can zoom in on that as well. But the technology is letting us down more often than it's not currently, and I don't think in 2024 is really acceptable to keep having to adjourn meetings. And I know leisure, even last month we had to abandon it altogether. So either we fix that or we all get back into the chamber. So I think we have a choice to make here, maybe before moving to the new year.
So bring in Dominic on that, because there's an update in regards to the technical problems that we have been experiencing. Hopefully some light at the end of the tunnel. Dominic?
Thanks, Chair. And and thanks, Alderman Baxter. Yeah, so a very sort of topical point at the moment. We're actually speaking to a potential supplier tomorrow, Jonathan and myself and the IT team, looking at options in terms of getting things sort of back on track. And, you know, when you look at the sort of the time frame of when the initial work was done, you know, it was a substantial investment at that time. I think the life cycle of that has now come to a point where clearly there's work required and spend required to you know, to get this thing back on track. And we're now sort of urgently looking at that, and there'll be proposals coming forward in that regard, members.
Thank you, Dominic. Content with that, Mark, yeah. Bring in Councillor Lavery.
Thanks, Chair. I was going to almost switch my light off there. I was well updated by Dominic there, and thanks for the work of the team in that. In terms of whether we should move back into full council meetings, I think the flexibility offered by hybrid meetings is very much appropriate going forward, particularly with members who have families. And I don't think the transparency in this organisation has ever been better with the YouTube links. So certainly I think constituents like to see what their councillors are up to in these meetings. So I would certainly can support it continuing. But anyway, we'll have that debate at a later time once we get the IT issues sorted, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. To be fair, I mean, attendance at council in this new mandate has been up considerably in what it was previously. So I don't think there's really an issue there at all. So members, I need a proposer and a seconder to go into committee. Proposed by Councillor O'Dowd, seconded by Alderman Moutray. So members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of council. This means that we'll be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. And can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed. So could I have a proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendations made in committee? Proposed by Councillor O'Dowd, seconded by Alderman Baxter. Thank you, members. Members, we move now to any other business, and I have been notified of 2 items of any other business, and the first item is Councillor Flaherty.
Would you annoy me? This is very important. He would annoy me beside me, you know. Thank you very much, Chair, for accepting this request with what's a very pertinent issue for so very many of our constituents this evening. A considerable number of concerned ladies have contacted me in relation to correspondence they have received concerning cervical screening in the Southern Trust. I'm sure that many of my fellow councillors have received the same emails, messages and phone calls from concerned and frightened women right across this borough. The news of a major screening review was announced by the Southern Health Trust at the beginning of October, following a damning report by the Royal College of Pathologists. Shortly thereafter, over 17,500 women found a letter dropped through their doors to tell them that their smear test would have to be rechecked. Some of these women will have to be recalled to have new smear tests carried out. Only by the grace of God, someone must look over me from above. I didn't receive this letter. I was fully expecting to receive this letter, so I can only imagine how these ladies feel. I have a lot of questions that need answered. They have lots of questions awaiting answers, but those answers are not forthcoming. The Southern Trust have not followed up entirely on the recommendations of the RCP, as it does not have the resources to carry out repeat smear tests for all these women, given the already backlogged system they have. Then we heard just last week that even at this early stage, the review has been delayed as the Belfast Trust, which was to review said slides, has had its cervical cytology accreditation suspended. This does not bode well for these women. Presently, these women are waiting. They're waiting on news, they're waiting on tests, they're waiting on clarity, they're waiting on reassurance, waiting or some paying privately just to get that peace of mind. Frankly, Chair, I don't think this is good enough. Here in this chamber, one of only 11 in the whole province that is currently debating anything to do with our constituents at this time, I wish to raise these women's voices to you. The voices of Laura, of Emma, of Olivia, Tracy, Julia, Janet, Joanne, Pauline, Lorraine, Brenda Redpath and Heather Thompson, who I met last Wednesday, huddled round a coffee, planning meetings and starting a campaign. They want answers, they deserve answers, and they all, I believe, all 17,000 of them deserve to be rescreened. This, of course, falls under the auspices of the Southern Trust and ultimately the Department of Health. Evidently, a series of systemic shortcomings have been allowed to persist and are only coming to light now. Let's try to get some answers for these women. Therefore, Chair, I ask that we reconvene the Subcommittee for Health, the Health Working Group, as a start, as soon as we possibly can. Via this forum that we already have structure for, I believe we are best placed collectively to speak directly to the Trust and the Department of Health. A minister would be great to direct this to, but we all know where we are with that again. Furthermore, I advocate for the organisation of public meetings to facilitate questions and provide comprehensive answers, as the current communication appears to be somewhat lacking. This may be facilitated by full council or by our colleagues in community planning, as the Trust are a planning partner after all. I'm happy to discuss any further options at said Health Working Group. I trust that all in the chamber are supportive of me bringing this here to you tonight, and are with me in sending our support to all the women who, through no fault of their own, are caught up in this. Thank you very much, Chair.
Absolutely. Councillor Flaherty, I bring in Councillor O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. I've also been contacted by a number of women with concerns. They're frightened, they're frustrated. the news, the delays that they're having is totally unacceptable by the Trust. These women have received recall letters and dealing with the news to learn of more delays. I second Councillor Flaherty's call for the Trust to come before the Health Working Group of the Council. The issue must be addressed urgently as it's becoming very clear the services for the women's health across the Trust is not fit for purpose. Furthermore, I would also call for the Trust to be called to attend a full council meeting to address public concerns, to allow councillors to question them and ensure that they're open and transparent process and they're held to accountability. Those women affected are in need and deserve no less than this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd. Yes, I mean, so many of our public services at the moment are completely falling apart. See that myself in my own work. Bring you in, Councillor McConville Walker.
So just like my colleague here, Councillor O'Dowd and Councillor Flaherty, I've also been contacted by women who are rightly concerned and worried and angry even. I am one of those women. I received a letter. We all have questions and we're deserving of immediate answers. So I'll be supporting them in their campaign for answers, and I hope this council can do the same.
Thank you. Well, no further questions or comments, members. If we're all agreed then with Councillor Flaherty's proposal and seconded by Councillor Dowd, that we convene the Health Working Group and invite somebody from the Southern Trust to come along and explain where things are at, and hopefully the Southern Trust will agree to that and will agree to it fairly speedily so that we can get this issue addressed. We all agreed, members? Thank you, members. Second item of AOB, then I've been properly notified by Alderman Moutry. So bring you in, Alderman Moutry.
Thank you, Chair, for acceding to my request. I'll be brief. Nearly 4 years ago, the world as we know it was impacted to a greater or lesser extent by COVID. Unfortunately, to some people, their lives were changed forever in the way that they were impacted, and their families, work colleagues, or whatever. But since that time, we have learned to a large extent to live with COVID. It's still around. But in local government circles in Northern Ireland, and this is the point that I wanted to raise tonight, some of our fellow councils have adopted a work styles policy. And I would reference Belfast City Council, which has brought this through, meaning that all staff would be at their place of work 3 days a week minimum. In Antrim Newton Abbey, 5 days a week. Lisburn, Castlereagh and Fermanagh Omagh, 3 days a week. Now, whether it's our bin staff, our leisure centre staff, they're all back at work for a considerable period of time on a full-time basis. And I think the time has come that we work to get all of our staff back for a minimum of 3 days a week. So I would ask the Chief Executive, would he give some consideration to this and progress it in a timely, in a timeline which can be identified, and bring it to the Chamber so members can make a decision on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Moutry. Just to say that people who are working from home are at work. I work at home myself 2 or 3 days a week. I'm at work. I'm not at work. So just to correct
well,
that bit,
absolutely. That we can differ to the extent of people whether they're at work or not, but we'll leave it there.
Bring in Roger. You
want Thank you, Chairman. Yes, we'll be happy to pick up. We are aware that a number of councils do have policies. We have a draft policy ourselves, so we're happy to look and see what the other council's position is and see how ours can tie in with that.
Thank you. Bring you back in, Alderman Moutry.
Thank you, Chair. And, interested to hear that we have a draft policy. As an elected member, I have never heard of it. I don't know what it contains. So I'd like to see something that's brought before the Chamber that members can decide on. And I'd like to see it brought pretty promptly. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's taken on board, Alderman Moutry. Any other further questions or comments in respect of that, members? Not seeing any lights, not seeing any hands. So, members, thank you very much. And we'll see you next month. Thank you very much.